Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Saurabh Jain. I'm speaking, and I would like to start today's session by a little introduction of the initiative which I had called Paytm Built for India. So I am vice president at Paytm, and I had an initiative called Paytm Built for India. I also have founded a open education initiative in my personal capacity. The name is Fun to Do Labs. It is an open education project. I have been a startup entrepreneur for last 15 plus years before joining Paytm. So I started my first startup in 2003 and I joined Paytm around 2017 end. And before that, I was always an entrepreneur. So whatever I would be speaking would be practically my gyan, and I will try to share as much as I can in the limited amount of time. And Paytm was my first job, and whatever I learned while being an entrepreneur, as well as I learned by reading a lot of books. I have read more than 198 books, generally related to entrepreneurship and education. And also, I have written India's first book on mobile app development, which was published in 2003. So, what is Paytm Built for India? Paytm Built for India is an initiative by Paytm to promote startup ecosystem in India, because we believe that India has more than a million problems, and most of the problems can only be solved by entrepreneurs, because government or NGOs have their own limitations, but entrepreneurs generally are sort of people who do 1 plus 1 11. They are not bounded by any constraints in general. So, for example, if you see all the startups in India, they have built businesses which people didn't believe were possible. And because the startup ecosystem is quite nascent in India, we should promote it, because we are the biggest startups. We are the biggest startup in India right now. So it's our like a role to be a good catalyst in the ecosystem. As part of that, we give a Paytm Built for India payment gateway booster. Paytm, as many of you must be knowing, is a very big payment gateway. It is the biggest payment gateway in India, and Paytm has a payment gateway solution which can be taken if you go to business.paytm.com. I will tell some details later on, but broadly, we are giving a free payment gateway plan as part of Paytm Built for India. We do a lot of events and mentoring also, and we do connect people to investors and other stakeholders also, and we do help the government also to basically create better policies and better initiatives for helping entrepreneurs and incubators. And as part of the Paytm Built for India plan, we don't charge any commission up till 1 lakh rupees of transaction value a month for first 12 months. If you take a payment gateway plan, I will be sharing my contact details. You can write to me for this free payment gateway plan if you want after this session. So now, coming back to this session, so I will be sharing 9 steps to startup success. So see, when I started running a startup in 2003, I was quite naive. I was just 22 years of age at that time, and not knowing much. And I thought I will become a big tech company. So at that time, startup word was not famous. So I always thought I'm making a big tech company, and generally all the audience would have that kind of thing in mind. Startup is just a word, but startup is not just a word. I will try to tell you the real thing which you need to know if you want to be a big startup. So, who is an entrepreneur? See, as per John Doerr, who is the one of the legendary investors in Silicon Valley and who was one of the first investors in Google. So, John Doerr says that entrepreneur is somebody who builds something for which is more than what you think is possible for less than what you think is possible. So somebody who can build more than what is thought possible. So generally we believe that 1 plus 1 is 2, but entrepreneur is somebody who builds 1 plus 1 11, and for less than what is thought possible. So even like generally the inputs are relatively less compared to the other organizations. A very small story which I can share at this point is, so before Paytm, general thought process was that Indian retail sector has more than 10 million shops. Every shop will require a 10,000 rupee credit card machine to digitize. So 10,000 crores is the minimum investment required to modernize Indian retail. Paytm came, and Paytm created this 2 rupee QR code sticker, And QR code obviously was not our innovation, but QR code being used for payments in India at a scale was something which we did quite successfully. And what happened was that this 2 rupee sticker has now basically may replace the credit card machine in most of the smaller stores. And why you see rickshaw wala, thela wala using Paytm instead of credit cards or debit cards, obviously due to that 2 rupee sticker, because obviously the rickshaw wala cannot have a debit card machine or a credit card machine. It's quite expensive also, and obviously there are issues relating to connectivity, etc. Also. So Paytm came out with a solution which was not linear in nature. It was like a 10x solution. So entrepreneur is somebody who comes out with a 10x solution. That's why I have this icon. You have this cycle, an entrepreneur driving a cycle, but he wants to fly. Like if you are driving the cycle on the road, then you are a businessman, not an entrepreneur. So what is a startup? A startup is a organization which builds products or services under uncertainty for a certain set of users. So this definition was provided by Eric Ries. So he focuses on building a product or service. See, if you are just basically taking a product and just selling it in the market without any innovation, without any additional good service or something, then obviously you are just a businessman. You are trading. You are not a startup. Other thing is startups always create things under uncertainty. There is no size definition as per Eric Ries. So generally, we believe that startups are small, but startups can be big. We believe Paytm is a startup. So when I joined Paytm, I met a lady in HR. She was employee number 78. Right now, we have more than I think around 15,000 employees. But she was employee number 78, so has been in the company from I think the last more than 12 years. And she said that are we still a startup, or is it just that Economic Times says that Paytm is a startup? So I said, no, we are still a startup. The reason we are still a startup is that we are building products and services under uncertainty. And that is the reason why startups have been better able to cope with Corona, because we are always being challenged by uncertainty. Any startup, whether it's small or big, always has uncertainty. Even, for example, this Corona has put a lot of uncertainty in a lot of projects within Paytm, outside of Paytm. But startup can be of any size. For example, Geo recently got around $5.7 billion of funding at 10%. And I think it's sort of a big startup. Even Indian Railways right now is behaving like a startup. They have created ICUs within trains, which is a very interesting new concept. With nowhere in the world people were doing that. So that kind of innovation is being done even by Indian Railways. So I say that startup can be of any size, or generally most startups are smaller, but don't try to focus that startups are only smaller organizations. They can be of any size. Defining characteristic is uncertainty. Then there are three types of startups: winner takes all startup, lifestyle startup, social startup. So winner takes all startups are those kind of startups जो एक tagline थी, कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में. So these are those startups who want to basically own the category. So Uber is the number one cab company. Paytm is the number one payments company in India. Google is the number one search company. So these are startups who want to dominate the category. Alibaba is a very big startup. Its founder Jack Ma says that winner takes all startup employees should work 996. 996 means 9 from 9 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. in the evening, 12 hours, 6 days a week. So this is what is expected. You are expected to dominate the category. You are expected to work hard. You are expected to be paid a lot, but obviously at the end of the day, you have to work hard. Then there are lifestyle startups. Lifestyle startups are startups which are started. They don't want to dominate the category. Obviously, if they can, they will. But they want to have a good lifestyle, a lavish lifestyle for startup founders as well as for the employees. For example, Basecamp is a very famous lifestyle startup. They say that our employees would not work more than 40 hours a week, and a few months they said only work for 32 hours a week. So this is a luxury. They were having work from home, 12 months work from home, even before Corona. So those kind of lifestyle startups are fun to work, but generally like there are less lifestyle startups, and Generally, most startups which are famous and which have taken funding are winner takes all startups. Generally, lifestyle startups would not have taken funding because generally investors bring this pressure of growing very fast. Then there are social startups. Social startups are interesting mix of NGOs and startups. So they have goals like NGOs. They want to do change the world to be a better place. They don't want to earn profit, but they use all the uh, best practices of startups. Khan Academy is an example. My own this Fun to Do Labs is a sort of a social startup. I work full time in Paytm, so I don't want to have it more like a company. I want it to be a more like a open education project. I want to do innovation in education, and I had a small team before joining Paytm. They didn't want to leave. They were motivated to work, and so I thought that I should convert it into a open education project and a social startup. So three goals of a startup. So see, any founder of a startup, generally winner takes all startup, especially has this in mind when that founder starts the startup. So they want a portfolio of successful products. They want a good culture in the company because we all know that if the company is not good in company culture, nobody would stay in the company. And at the end of the day, we all want a big IPO. For example, Paytm right now is an unlisted company. We are not listing in stock exchange, but someday we want to be listed in stock exchange. And when that will happen, it will be a very big event monetarily for all of us in the company because of ESOPs and the even for the founder, it will be a very big event. Three focus areas of startup founders. So what I did was that as a startup founder, I was relatively confused for many years what to focus on. In India, there are lots of things to focus on. Technically, also things are changing very rapidly, so it becomes very difficult to be on the forefront of technology, on the forefront of laws, of everything. And as a startup founder, I found it very difficult to do things in a right way. So when I joined Paytm and I started also around 5 years ago, I started reading books related to startups, etc. And I am currently reading my 199th book right now. So, I observed Paytm founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma very closely. I was reporting to him as well as he was my friend and he was the person who recruited me to the company. So what I realized was that he focuses on three things, and I also talked to hundreds of successful entrepreneurs, etc. And what I realized was that there are three focus areas which every startup founder should focus on, and that they are directly connected to the three goals. One is having an excellent product, focusing on having good product. Product can only be made by people, so having good people in the company, and people need purchasing power because nobody works for free. So you require uh, funding, and this is why I, instead of writing funding, I wrote purchasing power. I wanted to it to be three P's of startups. So these are three P's relating to startups: product, people, purchasing power. And then every startup has a life cycle. So there are three stages in a startup's life cycle. See, many people mix up these stages, and many people don't know consciously about these stages. So what happens? They do some blunders. For example, one of my wife's friend, she started a company, and the first employee she kept was HR head because she thought that she would be keeping many employees, and obviously as a her partner also said that he was a big businessman. He said that first HR रखेंगे उसके बाद फिर HR will recruit people. That is a wrong approach because because initially you have to search what to build because there are n number of possibilities you can do. You have to search what to build, then you have to build, and only when you build you should keep a person like a HR head because then only you need to scale and create a corporation. To build you need a small set of employees. You don't require a HR head. For if you keep two engineers, you don't require HR head to manage them. So these are three stages, and I have created this tool called Startup Canvas, which is a 3 by 3 matrix based on three stages intersecting with three focus areas. And these are the 9 steps to startup success. And these 9 steps are very critical. And had I known these steps around 2005-6 when I had started in 2003, especially if when I started mobile app development, and I was one of the pioneers into mobile app space in India. At that time, if I had known everything, I would have been super successful. My career has been relatively successful, but There have been ups and downs, and obviously I was not able to create 1,000 crore company on my own. But had I known these steps, I would have definitely created 1,000 crore company myself. The reason was I was never knowing that I should solve a problem. So first thing is solving a problem for the user or a consumer. Problem solution fit is the first stage. Then first we focus on the search stage. So there are three steps: problem solution fit, getting founders, and bootstrapping. In build stage, there are three steps: product market fit, core team, angel investor. Getting angel investor and scaling, there are three steps: growth, profit fit, corporation, building a corporation, and creating like getting funding from the venture capitalist. So third steps are basically done before the steps of the build stage, and build stage steps are generally done before the scale stage. You cannot mix up these steps within the stages, but within between the stages, but within a stage you can do steps according to your own wish and the circumstances. For example, if I am starting a company with my relatives, say for example with my brother or with my wife, I can have the founders, and then I can start finding the problem solution fit. But many times you are a lone founder and you have the problem, you start building a solution and then you realize you cannot do it alone, and then you try to find an engineering co-founder, or maybe a marketing co-founder, or a design co-founder, or maybe somebody who has more money and you want to do a partnership with that person. And similarly, when you start building, uh, first you would have to get core team, and then obviously you will do product market fit. But if your co-founder is a technical co-founder, maybe you can start making the product, and only when you realize that you need some more people, you will get people in the core team. And investor you can get only once you do problem solution fit, because till you don't tell the investor what you are building and why you are building, why the user will like this stuff, no investor will pay you anything. That's why in the first stage you cannot get the investor, you can only bootstrap. Maybe you can get some money from parents or some relatives, etc., but even that is not advisable till they are like willing to forego that money, because 90% of startups fail during this stage, and only after the problem product market fit stage most startups survive. So product market fit is a very important step. I will tell you afterwards. And scale has these three steps. Growth, profit fit is that after product market fit, the companies start to grow very fast. For example, Paytm after demonetization, Zoom during this time. So Zoom has a product market fit. So now, now it is growing very fast. Then you have to create corporation, because Paytm had a very small customer care service before demonetization. We had a field sales force, but we had to grow it very fast during demonetization. So you have to create a corporation. And why you need venture capitalists? Because obviously nobody has that sort of money without external investor. So if you have to recruit 100 people and every person takes 50,000 even, you have to give 50 lakh rupees of salary per month, and office space also, other cost also. So for 10-20 crores, nobody has that kind of money, so you have to take money from external investors. So we come to search stage. So search stage is the first step is problem solution fit. Like I told, if you are starting company with your founders, like relatives or wife, etc., then obviously you would have co-founders first. But generally, if you are a lone founder, you will start with the problem solution fit. So what is the problem solution fit? See, first step in any startup is solving problems. So India has more than 1 million problems, and we believe that startups are the best vehicles for solving problems, because I did a lot of research, and what I found was that money doesn't define being a startup. Technology doesn't define being a startup. Only thing that defines that you are a startup is that you are solving a problem which you want to solve in a creative way. I would not say innovative way. Why creative way? Because, for example, if you take Flipkart, many people say that Flipkart is a copy of Amazon. See, copy to hai, but Amazon didn't give the all the details to Flipkart. Also, Amazon was present in USA. Flipkart was present in India. So many of the practices which are popular in USA cannot be done in India due to lack of infrastructure, due to lack of like literacy, etc. A lot of problems and challenges were there. Similarly, Paytm's case, if you see, Many people say that it's a copy of PayPal, but no rickshaw wala, thela wala uses PayPal. Even in America, nobody uses PayPal for those things. People use Square. So the thing is that problems may not be unique. Problems may be solved in the way similar to what like the idea can be inspired from companies, but you have to start with a problem. You cannot just say that I am an engineer, I will just create a company around this technology. I unfortunately did that. I was a I was the biggest trainer of J2ME in Java Micro Edition in India as well as around Asia. I used to get people from outside India also coming for training, and I used to feel that I own that space. But unfortunately, Apple came with iPhone, and uh, things changed. And then I, after many years, after reading these books, I realized that had I focused on a problem, for example, I created a media solution, and when the first company which I went was to CNBC, they said, बॉस अभी तो लोग एसएमएस यूज नहीं करते, तुम उठा के लिए मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन टीवी के लिए. तो I was very like 10 years ahead, and nobody wanted that technology. So now I realize that technology is subservient to solving the problem. Solve the problem, try to focus on solving a problem, because I realized when I talked to my friend in 2016, who is a media tycoon, he did not have that solution which I showed to CNBC people in 2004. But the problem was that I focused on technology instead of solving the problem. My friend Vijay always thought about solving a problem, and that's why Paytm is so successful. Now the another question comes is, whose problem to solve? See, problem can be solved. Your own problem can be solved. Like for example, why I had started Fun to Do Labs with before Paytm, because my kids were in school. I was realizing there are problems in school and education. I should solve them. You can be solving any regional problem. Many people ask, sir, कौन सी problem choose करें? At least in India, we are fortunate that we don't have a problem of finding problems, because there are millions of problems. You can choose any problem you want. A good thing is a good problem to solve is the problem which you like to solve. So there is a concept called ikigai. So ikigai tells that if you solve a problem which you like to solve, if there is demand for that problem, if people are willing to pay for that problem, and if you have some skill level to solve that problem, you will always be happy and you will have a good career. So I realized that I should find a problem for myself also, because I always wanted to read books. I always wanted to teach. So I realized when I started Fun to Do Labs that this is a problem which I can solve, and which I was liking to solve. Initially in 2003-4 time frame, I always focused on technology, never focused on problem of the consumer. So then once you start solving a problem, that problem can be big problem also. So United Nations has 17 sustainable development goals. You can even focus on them, or you can focus on some industry problems also. And once you have a problem, then you have to find who is the consumer in the problem, who is the user. See, there is a difference between user and consumer. User is somebody who uses the product. Consumer is somebody who pays for the product. So for example, parents are consumer of Byju's. So they consume Byju's products, and they buy those products, and then they get their kids to study. But kids are the actual users of the products. Kids don't pay for Byju's, but they are the actual users. So you have to think about both, because at the end of the day, if only consumers are happy, users are not happy, they will give feedback, Mummy, Papa, this is a very bad product. Or if users are happy but consumers are not happy, they would not pay for that. Then you have to focus on solutions. See, the first step in finding solution is, don't think कि मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है. Always think, I will start with a dream solution. You have to start with a dream solution. There was a very simple exercise which I have heard is being done in Amazon. That is, they create a PR, dummy press release for the solution. What kind of product will they create? They create a dummy press release as a first step. They also create a frequently answered questions that helps to get clarified on what kind of product they are creating, how they will tell about the features of the product. At this step, don't think about your constraints. Ki, I don't have money. How will I make this? How will I make that? Just try to focus on the solution. Second step in the solution stage is you have to create a minimum viable product. Minimum viable products are minimum set of products which you can create to get user feedback. They are not intended to create get money. They are intended to just validate your learning, whether your consumer likes this thing or not. Because surveys, questionnaires are generally not accurate. Because if somebody asks me whether you want to go on moon, I will always say I will go on moon. I want to go. But if that person says, would you pay 10 lakh rupees for going to moon, then I would I would be thinking, yeah, 10 lakh rupees mein to bahut kuch ho sakta hai. Should I go to moon or not? And then if that person tells me there is 1% chance of a rocket failure, if that person tells me that there is less gravity and if you may have to stay there for 6 months, so a lot of issues would be there. So minimum viable products test those issues, because then consumer has to use the product in actual. Also the consumer sometimes have to pay also, and people pay only for things which they find value in. So it tells whether you are creating value or not. And another thing you have to focus on is value proposition. What kind of job, pain or gain you are giving. So if you are solving a problem, then you are doing some job. Your product is doing some job. You have to also solve the pain points. You have to also give some gains. And the final thing in the solution is you will come out not with a one solution. You will come out with a solution pattern. For example, Paytm has a solution pattern. A gives any person A gives money to B, and B gives any service to A. That any service can be DTS recharge, it can be electricity, it can be air ticket, it can be anything. It can be insurance also. Similarly, solution pattern for McDonald's can be that people in US eat beef burgers, people in India eat generally most people don't eat that, so they have aloo tikki burger and veggie burger in India. In like in Eastern countries, they would have different menu, but they always sell burger. So their solution pattern is burger. Within the burger, the that stuffing can change. So that is the solution pattern. Then we come to second step, founders. See, like I told, you can choose founders initially also, or you can choose founders after problem solution fit, or maybe you can go it all alone also. Many people do all alone also, but generally it is advised to have 2 3 co-founders, because the reason is it is very difficult to run a startup. And it I have seen Vijay is sort of a superhuman. Managing such a big organization from scratch has had a lot of challenges, and it's due to his energy and intelligence that he has been able to manage everything singularly. But generally it is better to have 1 or 2 co-founders. It makes it easy. Now, how to get a good co-founder? It's a very difficult task to get a good co-founder. So I have seen people fighting with co-founders, and that in due to infighting, the startup had to wound up. So I was listening to some video online, and there was this American person. He said that finding a co-founder is even more difficult than finding a husband or wife. Why? Because you can give divorce to husband or wife, but once your startup is successful, you cannot give divorce to your co-founder. Uh, so that becomes a very big challenge. And so there are 3 things you have to focus on in finding a good co-founder. I have read a lot of things, and I feel that if you focus on these 3 things, you will get a good co-founder. So you have to see the head, heart and hand of the co-founder. So head means you have to see the intelligence of the co-founder, whether this person has intelligence or not, whether this person has growth mindset or not. 1 + 1 = 11 type ka person hai, or is this person 1 + 1 2 sort of a person. For example, if this person says everything has to be 1 + 1 2 sort of thing, if something has not been done for last 100 years, this cannot be done. This kind of a person should not be made a co-founder. Or then you have to also see the heart of that person. Does this person has empathy for the user? Does this person is this person trustworthy? And is this person motivated intrinsically or extrinsically? Does money motivate, or does the this fulfilling the goal of solving this problem motivates this person? Because if that person is motivated just by money, that person would leave your organization in the midway, because startups are not easy. Most startups are loss making initially. So I know that when Vijay started his startup, which is now Paytm, which has morphed into Paytm. So initially the days were very difficult and he didn't have money even to eat properly. So during that time, if somebody is just motivated by money, that person will leave your startup for job or for family business. And then the third thing is hand. Does this person have experience? Does Is this person bringing any money? And what are the values of this person so you have to think of all these. I am not making a value judgment, but you have to think from all angles, and only then you have to get a person as a co-founder. So there is no good co-founder or bad co-founder. The only thing is that if you two are short, you are thinking short term and that person is thinking short term, then at least you would not fight. But if you are thinking long term and your co-founder is thinking short term, then obviously you would fight and there would be an issue. Then we come to bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is required because, see, at the end of the day, nobody would fund you. Maybe friends or family would fund you, but generally it is advisable that you don't take money from them. The reason is, like, I have a cousin who has been always saying, "Yeah, you should leave your job and you should start a company. I am willing to fund it." He's a very big HNI person. And I always say, where if I take, say, for example, just an example, 10 lakhs from him, and if that 10 lakhs I am not able to grow because 90% startups fail, and that 10 lakhs I am not able to return, what would happen? He will tell all the relatives that, yeah, I paid 10 lakhs to Saurabh and he was not able to grow this 10 lakhs, मेरे 10 लाख डुबो दिए. तो ये जो जनरल लाइन हिंदी में होगी, मेरे 10 लाख डुबो दिए. So you would have to basically hear this. If you take money from friends and family, so only take money from people who are willing to give you money and forget about it. The other thing is, only leave your full-time job for a startup, for founding a startup, when you have a clear idea of what is the problem and what kind of user and solution are there. And the other thing is that once you leave full time, you should have some money to sustain the startup as well as the family. So ideally, you should have money for at least 1 year of bootstrapping, 1 year to sustain. And if you can have money for 2 years, it is even better, because most of the people in India would not be, see, you are from IIT, so it would be relatively easier to get good quality people. IIT founder tag helps to recruit also and get some funding. But if you are not from IIT, generally it's relatively difficult to get funding initially without a good problem solution fit. And at that time, it becomes very difficult to sustain, and even getting some people would be costly. And so I would recommend you to have at least 2 years of money while leaving a job. Easiest time to start a startup is in college, because parents are happy कि बच्चा पढ़ रहा है. So easiest time to start in college. Vijay also started in college. I was doing CA at that time when I started my company, because my mother was happy कि he's doing CA, he's studying, and I was able to do a lot of programming and coding, etc. in research on internet, because I used to study for a few hours, and then after that I used to spend my time on researching on mobile apps, etc. So that is possible in college time, especially if you are in IIT. You have access to a lot of good infrastructure, and you have access to designers, etc. Within your friend circle, or maybe there are other departments whom you can reach out to. You have incubators. You have people who are coming there for mentoring. So college is the best time to start in India. Maybe in US, people say that start only after 30, age of 30. But in India, I would say that starting at 20 is easier than starting at 30, because once you pass out of college, parents would want marriage. Then after marriage, they would want kids. So around 30, you would have your kid who is just 1 or 2 years of age, and it becomes very difficult to bootstrap at that time. So then we come to build stage. So an important the one of the very important steps in these 9 steps is product market fit. So at this stage, you are in the build stage. You have to build the product, and product has to be built in a iterative way. Don't expect ki you will be launching like Steve Jobs in front of audience on a stage, and you would have a fully built-in product. Even Google starts every product in beta, and then only they iterate and build it into a big product, and then they iterate more and then start charging. So Eric Ries in his book Lean Startup gives a very good way of building product. He says build the product. So he tells about a cycle: build, measure, and learn. So he says build the product. If after that measure the analytics, and from those analytics learn, and then again build some features, or maybe iterate or improve the existing features. Then you have to think about markets. See, general markets we all know, but in digital there is a extra emphasis on long tail market. So, for example, when you go to a shop, it has maybe 1,000 items, but on Amazon we have around 10, I think more than 10 million items. So so there is a long tail of items which are only requested maybe once a year or 5 times a year. Those kind of items are not generally available on shops. Why? The reason is, if I'm a book company and I'm having a bookshop, I will just keep 1,000 books, 2,000 books, 5,000 books. But even Walmart cannot keep more than 20,000 books in US. So, but if I go to Amazon, they can keep all the books in print. So this concept is called long tail market, where there is huge demand in the starting, and but there is a if you draw the demand curve, it will never reach zero, and there will always be one or two like items which will have just demand of one like item a year. So you will have a very long curve in the shops. There is always like for example, if you see PVR only puts around 100 or 150 films a year in its multiplex. But if you go to Netflix, you will find hundreds of shows and movies. And if you go to YouTube, I think it's a classic long tail place, a long tail market, where you will see that you will get millions of videos, and more very rarely you will see any video with zero view. You will always find even the crappiest video would be having 2 3 views. So that kind of market, when you draw a graph, it will show a sort of a long tail, and that is called long tail market. So product market fit is a point in company's history when the products are so good that there is a lot of demand, and if it's a physical product, then you are out of stock, and if it's a digital product, you are all laughing all the way to your bank, because there is a lot of demand. And at that stage, you will be running out of server space. For example, right now Zoom is having product market fit. Twitter had product market fit. I remember 7 8 years ago, Twitter used to, when we used to open Twitter, there was a blue whale icon. Twitter used to say that it is out of resources, and Twitter used to site used to go down. And Paytm had this product market fit around when Uber started using Paytm. This was before demonetization. So we got millions of users who were using Uber. And one day my cousin, he came, he said, यार ये Paytm product बड़ा अच्छा है, तेरे को पता है इसके बारे में? मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा लगा Uber यूज करने में, पेटीएम के थ्रू पेमेंट करना. आई सेड, अरे दिस इज अ प्रोडक्ट बिल्ट बाय माय फ्रेंड विजय. एंड सो प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट वो होता है. एट दैट टाइम रिटेंशन इज वेरी हाई. समबडी हु स्टार्ट्स योर सर्विस, at least 50 60% people stay using your service. There is a lot of demand, and generally there are good reviews of your product. Maybe you are not charging at this time, product may be free, but at least people are happy using your product. So maybe like Subway Surfer has a product market fit for gaming, Zoom has for conferencing. So core team is important at this stage, because see, if you have a technical co-founder, maybe you can build the product without core team. But most people require a core team, because you will require a few engineers, maybe few developers, and you may also require a few sales people or a few marketing people, or maybe a few designers at this time. So core team has to be small. Try for the smallest team possible instead of the biggest possible, because India mein problem with IT is, when you talk to somebody, मेरी company में 5 आदमी है, that person would say, oh, it's a very small company. So we generally have this in mind as a vanity metric. We should have more and more people, because Infosys has 100,000, TCS has hundreds of thousands. I don't remember exactly. But instead, focus on taking cue from Silicon Valley. I met somebody in the initial team of uh, uh, this initial Instagram. So Instagram was just 12 people team when it was bought for $1 billion by Facebook. So try to focus on that. It had a very small core team. And at this point you require angel investors, because say if you just take 5 people in the team and they just charge 50,000, which is very decent. Most people charge more than that. So you will require 2.5 lakhs a month. You will require a office also, small office. You will be spending around 50,000 for that also. So and you may require some travel and some other things also, laptops also. So maybe you require 50 lakh rupees for first year. So it becomes very difficult for a small entrepreneur to start the build phase on his or her own. So generally, if you have the problem solution fit ready, you can incorporate into a private limited company, and you can try to find investors. See, going to investors is a tough thing, and most investors would say that you don't have this or that. So expect to go to at least 10 investors before finding one investment. Once you have a investor, you have to negotiate the terms. Most investors expect 10x return at least within next 2 3 years. Some expect even more return. Angel investors are generally HNIs, high net worth individuals. Now here you have to choose between just HNIs and people with knowledge. So for example, you can get 10 lakh rupees from me also, and you can get 10 lakh rupees from a property dealer. And if you are building some online solution, so I would be a better fit as an angel investor, because I have knowledge. I can help you, mentor you also. And if you go to just a property dealer and you are building, say, mobile games, that property dealer would not be able to help you. He will just give you 10 lakh rupees. So try to find an angel investor who is good in credentials, who is good in experience. So getting somebody like a Vijay Shekhar Sharma as an angel investor, or Rajan Anandan, ex-CEO of Google India, would be obviously better than getting a property dealer. And then there are a host of people in between who are there as angel investors. You have to do your own diligence. And also they will get you sign a term sheet. There are also investor networks like angel networks. So Indian Angel Network is a quite a famous network. There is Venture Catalyst and Lead Angels. I know a lot of heads of angel networks, and they are really helping small entrepreneurs to get funding, and they fund from anywhere between 5 lakhs to 2 3 crores in general. And they get you sign a document called term sheet. Due to lack of time, I would not be able to tell much about term sheet, but it's a legal document and you should get it vetted by an expert legal lawyer or a CA who is expert in startup agreements. Don't get just advice from a general lawyer or a CA. They don't know much about the terms like drag along, tag along, valuation criteria. They generally don't know much about that. So only a specialist should be consulted during this time. And then we come to scale stage. So scale stage is when you do actual that kar lo duniya muthi mein. So then you focus on growth. So when I joined Paytm, we were focusing on growth, and growth is very important in company stage, because you only build big money only when you do growth. But don't focus on growth initially. Only focus on growth only after product market fit. So once you know that people are liking your product, you can spend money on growing the market. How you will grow market? For example, if your product is viral, for example, WhatsApp went viral without advertising. It became very famous in India. So these are called engines of growth. So there are three engines of growth as per Eric Ries. So one is your product becomes viral. Second is your product is very profitable and you can do paid engine of growth. For example, Byju's does this. Byju's charges, I don't remember exactly, but I think they charge around 20 30,000 per child. So that's why they are able to do paid growth. They have a big sales team. They are able to afford big ads. So they do paid engine of growth. And then there is a third engine of growth which has very high retention. So for example, Uber, etc., which have very high retention, and if some new people come, they also stick to the company. So at the end of the day, most people would be maybe coming slowly, but once they come, they don't leave that app. So if you don't have any engine of growth, it becomes very difficult to sustain. Also, you have to have positive unit economics. Unit economics means that every time I give a service, I am profitable. So for example, if you have to transfer money through Paytm, even if we don't charge, that doesn't cost us also a lot of charge. It does cost us something in terms of server cost, but that is relatively like manageable. So if say we had to pay 100 rupees to government for every transaction, obviously we could not have given free transactions to you. So Vijay recently in an article he said that Paytm is focusing on 333. Basically 333 means 3 years spending on growth, 3 years spending on revenue, and 3 years spending on profit. So at the end of the day, why you need profit? Because for IPO you have to be profitable in India, and generally even in USA, like Uber was not profitable and it made an IPO. The IPO was not very large success. So ideally you should focus on profitable growth at this stage. But initially you can give product for free, but unit economics has to be manageable. It should not be that you are bleeding to death due to the every transaction being very loss making for you. Why you require a corporation at this stage? Because for example, after demonetization, Paytm had to grow a lot, because say for example there are thousands of petrol pumps. To service them we have hundreds of executives, and those hundreds of executives have to be there in every state capital, every district, etc. So for every service we have to have hundreds of or a few people for every service. So I used to feel that why Paytm has 10,000 people. When I joined, the company, I realized that every icon which you see on Paytm has uh, at least 10, 20 people, and many have 200, 300 people behind the scenes who are making the service live. At this stage, two things are very critical. First, you have to define the hierarchy. The second thing you have to define is the departments. So departments are basically in Paytm they are divided into four broad categories. So we have product related departments, we have support related departments, we have technology related departments, we have business related departments. So generally, product team is concerned with product managers. Business teams are more concerned with sales and marketing. Technology teams obviously are concerned with engineering, and support teams are basically teams like purchase, HR, admin, uh, audit, finance, etc. And you have to define a hierarchy. Every big corporation has a hierarchy which has defined hierarchy. So Paytm has 10 levels. So Vijay is at level 10, and any new person straight out of college, if he does graduation, would be recruited at level 1. As vice president, I am at level 7. So as senior vice presidents are at level 8. So we have to define an hierarchy, and you get internal perks according to that hierarchy. You require this hierarchy because you cannot manage thousands of people with different designations without hierarchy. And even Amazon and Google, I have studied, they also have similarly, like they also have multiple levels, and generally these big MNCs have 10, 12 levels. Then we come to venture capitalists. If venture capitalists are running venture funds, they are professional investors similar to mutual funds, but different is that they are taking money from HNIs who are called limited partners, and they take that money, have a SEBI registered fund in India, and those funds are generally taken from HNIs. So they take money from people like angel investors, they take money from other HNIs, and they give it professionally. The difference between angel investors and venture capitalists is angel investors have their own funds, venture capitalists take fund from other people, and generally venture capitalists try to invest more money. Angel investors invest up to 3 crores, the venture capitalists start from 2 3 crores and go to hundreds of crores. And the first stage at which venture capitalists come is called generally called Series A, although sometimes they even participate in seed round, which is pre-Series A. So Series A is basically the first round of venture capital, and they also get you sign a term sheet, and generally sign their term sheet only after showing to a very good lawyer, because these venture capitalists are sometimes also called vulture capitalists, because many are very expert, and generally the entrepreneur is not that expert. So generally it becomes difficult for the entrepreneur. So get good legal opinion before signing it. So due to lack of time, I am finishing it here. And these are 9 steps. Right now, I am doing a lot of research and writing a book on these 9 steps. Whenever I will publish the book, I will let the social media. I will let you all know on social media, and I will be now sharing my contact details. So this is my email. Anybody who wants the free payment gateway booster can write an email to me, and I am available on all social media as SKJ Saurabh or Saurabh Jain Paytm. You can search on LinkedIn, etc. And so these are 9 steps. Just summing up again: problem, solution, fit, getting founders, doing bootstrapping, getting product market fit, finding core team, finding angel investor, doing growth profit fit, building a corporation, and taking money from a venture capital. These are 9 steps, and once you do these 9 steps properly, you will be able to build a portfolio of products, you will be able to build a good culture, and you will be able to IPO. There are numerous sub steps also, but this was to give you a good feel of the overall concept. Also, in the age of Google and YouTube, you can always, if you know the terms, you can always try to search and know. I have this presentation live on SlideShare. If you people require, you can give your feedback to the organizers. I can share the presentation link with them. Oh, now we can start a Q&A. If you have Q&A, you can, I think, here you can put in questions. So, how to find and persuade right people to join your team? See, this is the most challenging task, because right now it becomes very difficult for basically a small founder, and especially if you are a student, to persuade people. But I would say that uh, a good founder is a good storyteller. So, for example, I can share you one example. I was in 2012. I was sitting with Vijay. I was building some game for 197 Communications, which is the parent company of Paytm. And he said, "यार तुम games देते हो market में, Airtel and other operators used to charge 70 to 90% for promoting those games in their app stores." He said, "ये game अगर तुम 10 रुपए तुम चार्ज कर सकोगे एंड यूजर से, तुम चाहोगे यूज करना मेरी सर्विस?" मैंने कहा हाँ मैं यूज करूंगा। मैंने कहा सर्विस का क्या नाम है? ही सेड पेटीएम। तो आई सेड ये पेटीएम तो बड़ी अच्छी सर्विस है, आई वुड डेफिनेटली ट्राई टू यूज इट पेमेंट गेटवे for getting these small micro payments from people. And he said, I will just charge a payment gateway charge. तो मैंने कहा तो बहुत बढ़िया, सीधा 70% से 2% चार्ज होगा आप। So that was a good story. Then he persuaded me to join the company. Although I didn't join the company at that time, I joined only in 2017 when he convinced me again. So see, even people as good as Vijay take time to persuade people, and Paytm obviously was a he said 10,000 crore का ब्रांड बनेगा ये 2012 में, he said. And at that time there was no demonetization. मोदी जी गुजरात के सीएम थे, पीएम भी नहीं थे। तो मैं वही बता रहा हूँ, he was very clear, he had a story in mind. He said everybody would use, because digital is becoming famous, everybody would be using this digital platform. And his story was quite persuasive. The only reason why I didn't join was that I always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and Paytm in 2017 was my first job. So I never thought कि मतलब कभी जॉब भी करनी है. So when Vijay even gave me idea, तो उस समय भी थोड़ा लगा कि जॉब नहीं करनी. But so that's why I'm saying कि when people don't accept your company, it is not कि they don't like you. Sometimes they have their own compulsions. Try to be a good storyteller. Vijay एक अच्छे storyteller हैं. All good entrepreneurs are good storytellers. You listen to any great entrepreneur. You have to be good storyteller. वो आ जाती है. I was not a good storyteller. I took 5-6 years to be a good storyteller, and whatever public speaking experience I had before Paytm was broadly while hosting meetups and mostly while recruiting people. So while recruiting people, I learned a lot of things. Convincing power improve होती है. So take it more like a positive challenge. And then we have this second question. What else is talking about YouTube? Now I want to start a YouTube channel, and I want to pay co-founder or my worker at initial stage. See, uh, how do I pay co-founder? I will take first, because co-founder को generally pay नहीं करना पड़ता. Co-founder is a person who is working for free or नहीं. Pulkit, can you mute your? Uh, so you have to pay your you don't have to pay your co-founders. Yeah, then it's a employee. If you are paying to somebody, then he or she is an employee. Co-founder invests money, and then obviously they can take salary. But if some co-founder comes without investing anything in the company, and that person charges you salary, then that person is an employee, not a co-founder, very clearly. And how you will pay to the initial worker? Like I said, you have to bootstrap initially. You have to save money for bootstrapping. So if you are in college, then obviously that becomes difficult. So then ideally initially you should not have a employee, you should have a co-founder. You should do problem solution fit. Try to have a, if you are engineer, try to have somebody with sales experience or marketing experience. If you are having marketing sales experience, try to have somebody with design or engineering background, and try to have a co-founding team which can create at least a minimum viable product on its own without any employee. Only then people would pay or investor would pay you, and using that money you can keep that employee. As a student, I am telling, especially for a YouTube startup, what I would say is that, see, minimum viable product for a YouTube startup is that you should start creating 2 3 minute videos, and if 10 videos work, then you should stick to the same genre. If 5 10 videos don't work, then you should start some other, focusing on some other genre. So you have to think about the problem. What is the problem customer? What problem does your audience have? So, for example, if I'm making a channel for kids, so are kids bored during Corona? So, for example, I can create some content to make them happy, or do kids want to study and I want to create educational content? So you have to be very clear. And because YouTube, generally the channel would be free to watch, generally the user and the consumer would be same, but it depends. If it's a paid channel, then you have to think from that angle also, that what kind of audience would be paying for it. And SEO becomes very important for YouTube. So generally I've seen, you don't and another thing which I have seen in my own personal channel was, which I saw was that if you build 10 videos, you don't know which one would work. So at least build 10 videos. One video wonder is rare. You have to build at least 10 videos, and only after that, even after a few months, only that channel would work. Don't expect that within 2 3 months this channel would work. At least stick to the channel for at least 1 year, and only after you build 10 20 videos you will see the direction, and only after you build 50 videos you can be sure that this is a good idea or a bad idea. Because you never know, like I built a video, and the video for which I had spent 1 lakh rupees didn't do any well, and it just have, I think it has just 10,000 views. And there was one video which my wife got created from my employees, and she gave the voice on WhatsApp, and they just mixed that voice, and that video got 1.5 lakh views. So you don't know which video will work and which video would not work. So try to stick for as long as possible, at least 1 year for YouTube channel. Then we come to the next question: how to convince any investor to invest? As I meet a lot of them replied, it's better to invest in stock market or gold in property, and not. See, you are meeting, I think, wrong investors. Generally, professional angel investors, people like me. I am, although I was just starting angel investment before Corona. Although now the sentiment has got bad, and like I would not be becoming an angel investor. But at least people like me who are having experience of startups, they know how startups work. If you go to relatives, if you go to property dealers, if you go to people like politicians, they may have money, but for them it's better to go to gold or stock market, because they don't know about angel investment, they don't know about startups. Only take money from people who have worked in startups, or who have been startup founders, or who are professional angel investors for 5 6 years, who know that 9 out of 10 investments would go wrong, and only one investment would return me money. Because otherwise, if you take some money from somebody like a politician, it will become a like pain in your neck after some time, because that person would say, "मुझे तो ब्याज दो, लाके give me interest," sort of. So that those people have those kind of thought processes. And how will you give interest, or how will you, and after 3 years when you will say कि आप कितने 10 लाख दिए थे, अब ये पूरे के पूरे डूब गए, I would not pay you back even 1 rupee, that person may do criminal case or something against you. So it is better to go to professional investors, because they know कि 10 में से 9 investments would go bad and only one investment would work, and they work with that thing in mind. So they are not like bad people. Even if they say कि मेरे को investment का ज़्यादा return दो, they will only be pushing you more like verbally, and they would not be doing any criminal case against you, sort of that, if you are honest. So do take money from them also. So, hi Saurabh, can you suggest some OKR startup founders to look forward to? See, I would say that basically startup founder should have these uh, like in measurement. I would say that you should focus on one key metric, which is called a North Star metric. For example, in Paytm we used to have gross merchandise value as our primary metric till last year. So every time you pay anybody anything, that is called merchandise value and gross merchandise value. And our aim was to have more and more of gross merchandise value because we were not charging anything. So different startups can have different output. For example, if you are a content startup, you can have minutes of usage as a focus area. So total number of minutes. So these are OKRs for the founder. I think would be related 30-40% would be related to the measurement of the actual product, and 30-40% of the OKRs. For example, so maximum you should have 5 OKRs. So three can be related to product, one or two can be related to people, and maybe last one can be related to getting the funding. So these are some of the OKRs you can have. So one can be I would like to have that this much funding within this time. One can be I would like to recruit so many people of so much at this designation within so much time, and 2-3 can be related to analytics. So one should be primary, and then there can be 2-3 secondary analytics, which you should focus on. Don't focus on data science. You don't require data science during initial days of a startup. Just focus on one primary metric and 2-3 secondary metrics, maximum 5 secondary metrics, because beyond that point your short term memory cannot process. I've read a lot of books on psychology, and most people cannot focus on more than 4-5 items at once. So don't focus on that. At which stage do you look? This is the last question I will take because we have less time. At which stage do you look to draft the bylaws and decide the equity split between co-founders? I think the bylaws verbally should be there at least from starting. You should be clear that you will look after what and the co-founder would look after what. Also, the equity split should be ideally be equal, and there should be co-founder vesting. There is a very interesting term called co-founder vesting, which says that don't give all the equity to co-founders immediately. They should get the shares after 1 year, 1/4 shares, and after that for every month till next 3 years they should get 1/48 share. That is called co-founder vesting. Most angel investors and VCs tell you to do co-founder vesting. Otherwise, they don't invest in the company. It is better to do co-founder vesting initially also, because if your co-founder runs after 6 months, you are you have given 50% equity, you would not be left in a good position. You won't be able to run your company, and then obviously the startup would fail. But if you do co-founder vesting and somebody runs after 6 months, they would not get any shares. If they run after say 12 months, they would get 1/4 shares. If they run after 24 months, they would get 1/4, which they got at the end of first year, and 1/48 for 12 months means another 1/4. So they would run with just 50% of their total equity, which is if were to get 50%, and 50% of 50% is 25%. That is a good thing. So last question I can take, I think one more question. What are some best books, podcasts, and other resources for entrepreneurship? There are very good books. Lean Startup is a very good book. Then you should go to Y Combinator, and Y Combinator has an excellent video channel on YouTube. There are some videos of Y Combinator people in Stanford. You can just search Stanford Y Combinator, and some of the you can even I will just open a link and maybe share that. So I have read around these 200 books, and uh, I have shared those books online. So I will just open the link and maybe share this link here. So so this is the link of my blog post, which has all those books listed. I will just share here. These are the this is the link of reading one book a day changed my life, and you can read a list of 195 books which I have put here, and 198 books which I put here, and the 199th book which I am reading right now is Drive, very famous book, Drive, Drive. It's on motivation, and I am compiling a list of startup books, unfortunately, because there are so many books. It is taking a lot of time for me to go again and read a few pages of the book to understand that whether that book was good or not. But I feel that if you see that list and if you ping Amazon, you can get some good books, and based on the feedback from people by rating system. So with that, I would like to end. And if you have any other questions, etc., you can always ping me on social media, etc. And maybe we can have another webinar maybe after a month or so. I hope you found this webinar useful.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time. It was a great experience hearing you. I'm sure every one of us got some valuable insight. But can you advise, like, we most of us are college students, so what general advice would you give to them?
See, I would say कि especially after Corona, although you are from IIT, the job though you will get, but generally jobs would be less, and less money would be paid. It is better to, if you are in first or second year, try to start a startup, because till you pass out, your startup may get some traction. This is the best time to start a startup. Sony started during the end of World War in Japan, and Microsoft and Apple started during a recession. So this is a very good time to start a startup. For if you have an existing startup, this is a difficult time. But if you are just starting, you have a lot of time. People are working from home also, so most people have time these days. So it is better to start a startup, because right now I think jobs would be less, and as a startup you have a lot of opportunity. And if you have that flair in your mind that I want to do something, this is the best time. And as a student, like I told, parents are not very focused on earning money right now. They don't want you to contribute to the family income. So it is even easier, because once you pass out, they will say ki family income, though it becomes very difficult to be an entrepreneur at that time. So Vijay, I, all of us started during our college time, and he was relatively very successful during the college time. So I would advise you to start with. And
Uh,
just coming to the payment gateway booster. So we have our website on payment gateway solutions. This is called business.paytm.com, and you can reach me for this payment gateway booster, which gives you 1 lakh rupee worth of transaction value of free of cost for 12 months, which is 12 lakh rupees practically of transaction value. But this is given to you 1 lakh rupees a month, and 2% is the general charge. So if you use all of 12 lakhs, then you save 24,000, which is a big sum for early stage startup. And you just need to send me the startup name and contact details on email, and your website or app URL, and I will forward it to my team, and then they start giving the process documents, etc. And then you can start having this payment gateway for free of cost.